Hey guys, Ponce here, and today I just wanted to make a quick video about my hotkey setup, since I suppose it's somewhat unique. I mean, I've heard of other people using this setup, but not too many, and I actually get a lot of questions about this, since people can actually see that there's numbers assigned to the thing here, and they'll notice, my camera moves around differently compared to what the standard, or the default key bind setup is. I guess that's the average. So yeah, before I get into the specifics of like the whys and the details, I'll just kind of explain what the setup is I use, what each key is assigned to. So if you want to follow along, just put your hand on the keyboard like, you're playing Overwatch or any FPS or, World of Warcraft or even like, I guess, most action RPGs. Just put your hand on the WASD keys. And yeah, the closest thing I can come up with is, yeah, I guess be like off the top of my head, Overwatch, or allegedly Smite is similar. I don't remember. I have played Smite, but it's been a while. So yeah, camera movement is WASD. I have the scroll sensitivity turned up a ways, I believe, compared to what the default would be. So essentially, the WASD is simulating what normal people have on the arrow keys, and from there, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the abilities. That's pretty basic. So right above there, just like, again, Overwatch, 1, 2, 3, 4 abilities, that kind of idea. Q and E are summoners, so easy access. They match the sides. And of course, I think most people they get used to like flash and, whatever the other thing is. So the mobility thing is like on one side always, and the other thing is going to be the other. So basically, I always have flash or ghost or that kind of thing on the E, and I'll typically have like ignite or exhaust or teleport or whatever on the Q. So I try to keep that consistent, or whether I do keep that consistent. And items are X or Z, X, and C. So that's actually, I'll get into that in a bit. I have a bit of a complaint about that. But yeah, it's very rare to have more than 3 actives, at least in the way I play. I know sometimes as support you can have more, or very specific builds can have more, but that's the problem I'm willing to deal with. I mean, basically, typically if there's a 4th active, it's not, an immediate concern. So anyway, aside from that, we have my ward trinket on R. Here it says 7. That's not accurate. I don't know why it shows it as that, but anyway, so yeah, I just press R. So it's like everyone else's alt is my ward trinket. And then from there, what else do I have? Oh, F is attack move. So right beside the WASD configuration. G I have as defensive ping, or just be careful, because this is like the immediate ping you need, right? It's like careful, careful. There's that. For the ping scroll wheel, to bring that up, I press the... Basically, I have a slightly different mouse. I guess I could probably show that on camera, but it's, I believe, mouse button 4. So I have extra mouse buttons on the side of my mouse, right where my thumb goes. So I just press it down on my thumb, and I can say enemy missing. So I just it's a single motion. I press down with my thumb, and then I swipe the mouse in whatever direction I need. Aside from that, I guess there isn't really anything else interesting there. Oh. The other one is V. My V key is hold position. So I'm walking, I can hold. So I can, if you want to do the attack spam things like that, or you just want to stand there without attacking anything. I don't use that one that often. I really should. In fact, I use this so infrequently. I actually had to rebind it before this video because it was supposed to be that, and then I think I reinstalled League of Legends and never rebound that. So I think in terms of my gameplay, that's one thing I could improve on, is probably using this a bit more, especially given that, now that the minion pathing seems to be messed up again, which is another video I'll make soon. Like, I think Riot secretly changed something. Maybe they announced it, I don't know, but I swear to God, there's like, the minion pathing is just messed up again. Or like the creep block stuff. But anyway, completely separate topic. Let's not get into that. So yeah, that's like my basic hotkey setup there. In terms of why I do this, I could rationalize it, sort of like a, after the fact in terms of efficiency stuff, which I can get into in a minute. But the basic reason is that's just what I'm used to. I have a much stronger FPS background than anything else, and a lot of like RPGs and action RPGs, so stuff like World of Warcraft, MMOs. I'm just really used to the WASD movement, and I like to keep my hotkey setup consistent through every single game type I play. I just, I'd rather not have to switch modes, essentially, when I'm switching games. So this just keeps my setup consistent. My hands are in the same place. They roughly, I try to work with the same number of hotkeys. It's not like there are, the shortage of hotkeys on the WASD side of the thing. Like, you can see I have everything I need clustered directly around the WASD hotkey thing. Now, I feel like it actually probably works fairly well. Like, again, since I can't use the default hotkey setup, it's too weird for me. It's difficult for me to set switches more efficient. But I feel like this works fairly well, given that, camera control is, I think, pretty important. Like, I see, like, it's not used as much by people, but having a larger field of vision and being able to move around like this without necessarily, like, if you use the mouse in conjunction with the WASD, it moves faster, but I don't necessarily need it. Like, how often do you need to, move this quickly? But, just minor adjustments, like a guy is just all the way over here, especially with like a very mobile champion like Jarvan, like, he can cover a lot of ground. So, I'll show you, like, I can't show you the full combo because there's no one I can use my ult on right now, but, I can, like, flash combo and then ult, and then I'd make it, like, from here to here. I just made it there. Now, obviously, you could do locked camera. I personally don't like locked camera. So that's another personal preference thing. I know there are some people who allegedly use lock camera all the time. That would be just very awkward to me. So, again, this is a very personal preference sort of thing, which is why I was a bit hesitant to, like, make a video at all, even though I get a lot of questions about it. But recently I did sort of, like, talk to my hotkey setup about someone I know, and they seem to really like the idea, and now they're trying to use it, and they're adapting to it actually relatively quickly, and they seem to like it. So I don't know, maybe some of you guys out there might be in a similar boat to me where this just feels a lot better. Now, I do use lock camera, which is, I think, default is space, or you could permanently lock it with Y. But I do use lock camera a bit. For example, that big long gap closer combo I showed you where I end up over here. If I lose sight of my character, you quickly tap space and you center it on the guy. So that's really all I need if I need to sort of like recenter myself. Now, it's typically not as much of an issue, despite the mobility I was just talking about with Jarvan, simply because Jarvan tends to stand out as a character. But I can see lock camera or using lock camera more. In fact, no, I do this. When the characters don't stand out as much, they're not quite as distinct, like they're a smaller, much more common humanoid color, or a humanoid shape, with a color that tends to blend in with the background a lot, or it's a very common color between champions. For example, if you're a green color, or just like a very subtle blue, so like a Rise, or, a Thresh, or everyone happens to have a skin that everyone on the team is purple or something like that. That comes a lot more handy because you just tend to lose sight of the character a bit more, especially when your camera's moving around free like this. That is sort of a weakness of this. Like I do, I fully realize that it's not massive because again I can center the character, but in the heat of battle it's a bit easier to lose track of what's going on if you're working with sort of extra space essentially. But I do like, again, the free look camera with the WASD simply because I'm not limited to using the mouse for that. Since the mouse already does so much important stuff. It's, it's used for targeting, it's used for skill shots. And I mean, since your damage, because the WASD, your left hand, it doesn't really do a hell of a lot. It just has to click on a button once and it goes off. The actual important part of using the ability is dependent on the mouse, right? It's the skill shot part of it, or the targeting part of it, either or. So that's why, I figure take a little more burden off the mouse in terms of sort of vision control in a sense, and just let it focus purely on offensive and defensive maneuvers. Movement as well, of course. Obviously movement pretty important in the game. So I was just saying, yeah, it's because of an FPS background and sort of action RPGs. Interestingly, yeah, MOBAs take more after sort of what I see as a very archaic system from RTS games, because they're based off of RTS. Dota was an RTS mod from Warcraft, original, or not original, but Warcraft 3. And RTSs tend to have the more or less the default League of Legends hotkey setup, which again I don't like at all. Which I find weird. Like a lot of RTSs, even to this day, or at least some of the more recent ones that I've played, still have this really bad trait or habit, or I don't know what you want to call it, but feature, I suppose, of having this default hotkey setup where the you control the camera camera panning purely with the mouse or the arrow keys, and they don't let you customize it. I find that infuriating, and that's essentially a deal breaker for me, because I just despise playing with that setup, and I suppose I could like relearn it, given that I did play StarCraft with that setup, the original StarCraft, and probably actually Warcraft 3 as well, but I never really liked it. And as soon as I found ways to alter the hotkeys, I've always just kind of switched to this one. Now, the reason I play immediately, I suppose, like the reason I immediately gravitated towards this hotkey setup with League of Legends is I believe the first MOBA that I played extensively, I did play the original Dota a bit, but, just kind of for fun, not that often. But yeah, the first one I played extensively was a game called Demigod, which some of you guys might not know. I don't even know if that's still available to play or what. But I'm pretty sure I customized the hotkeys in that to WASD. And so when I came into League of Legends, I immediately gravitated in that direction. I'm pretty sure I did that in Demigod. I'm not 100% certain. It might have been a League of Legends adaptation, but it just feels like, because I know the first game I ever played in League of Legends, I was like, this feels bad, and then I switched in like either during the tutorial or right after the tutorial. And this is way back in season, or before seasons existed actually, because I started playing League of Legends during the Malzahar release. It was either Malzahar or Olaf, or something that time frame. So I believe that was around 2011. So I've been doing this a while. So there's definitely no going back for me in terms of the other hotkey setup. Well, I suppose I could, but I have to relearn everything. But yeah, anyway, that's my hotkey setup. Perhaps not the most exciting topic in the world, and as usual, I ramble on about nothing endlessly. But if it's something you might want to try out, it could be worth it. Like, again, it's a very personal thing. I'm not saying the default hotkey setup is terrible. It feels terrible to me, but I don't. I'm not going to pretend I can objectively assess which is better and whatnot. It certainly, I definitely see the merits of the way I do it, and not so much the merits of the other way. But again, I don't do that way. So there you have it, my hotkey setup. I'm sure I'll still be asked about it plenty, but the video is now up. I can direct people to this long-ass rambling video now if people are interested. Anyway, I'm off to go stream twitch.tv/spons like I usually do after uploading a video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.